All right, guys. So anyway, sorry I had to take a break for a minute. So over here on the blueprint, the bench blueprint, we're going to create some logic here. So select your smart object, and on smart object event over here, just press that plus sign. It'll create an event for us. And now we're going to break this smart object event data. And yeah, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check the reason. And so type an equal sign and then select equal enum. And we want to check if this slot is currently occupied. So what happens is first, I believe it does like on component bound, on claimed, and then unoccupied. And then whenever he releases it, it's unreleased. And there's quite a few in here if you want to look at them. But anyway, so we want to check if this is occupied and we want to check the tag on this. So we're actually going to make this a pure function. But I'm going to reroute this right here. And then I'm going to get the smart object subsystem. And off of here, we're going to get slot tags, plug that in here. And then we're going to, under gameplay tags right here, we're going to scroll down to has tag. And I'm going to reroute this over here and reroute that over here as well. And then I'm going to reroute this out here. And then I'm going to highlight, click and drag over this, and then collapse to a function. And I'm going to name this slot has tag. You can name it whatever you want. That's what I'm going to name it though. And then we're going to check if the slot has the primary tag. That's the tag we assigned to the smart object definition. This is the runtime tag on the primary slot. So whenever we check to see if a slot has a tag, it's going to check its runtime slot, just in case you guys were wondering. That's how that works. And if you want, you can do a get tag under variables. That's a reference to this right here. It allows us to break those wires. So I'm just doing a little bit of cleanup here. And let's select this, and under here we'll see pure. We're going to select pure and expand to the be exact match. And in case you didn't notice, it automatically formats it so that the B isn't there. If you put that, and that the reason why is because that's a convention to precede booleans with a B. And on the default value, we're going to check this so that it's always exact match by default. And so if it's unoccupied and if it's an occupied slot and the slot tag is the primary tag, and the reason why, and I don't know, but from my understanding, at least the way it used to work, is that the way the and works is if this returns false, it won't even bother checking this one. And so it's just a performance thing. I did test this a while back though, and it seemed to me like that wasn't the case. So I don't know if they changed that or if I was just misunderstanding what I was seeing. But anyway, I do that. I do things in this order anyway, just in case, because it might save us a little bit of performance. And then we're going to make one more function like this. We'll use this one, so we'll go ahead and copy that and paste that over here. And we're just going to get the smart object subsystem again. And we need to do get slots, get all slots. And it's going to want this other smart object handle. And this is the handle to the smart object itself. It's an identifier. And we need to do a for each loop off of here. We don't need to bother breaking it, and you'll see why. But we're going to check this slot handle. We're going to see if that tag matches some specified tag, and we're going to reroute this because we want to set this from the function call. And so we're going to collapse this into a function like we did before. And what we're going to do is, if this is true, then we're just going to return this. And so it'll automatically end the for each loop whenever we leave the scope of this function. We want to reroute that as well. I'm going to collapse this to a function. We're going to say find slot with tag. So that's the only two functions that we need right now. I don't think we'll need any others. I'm going to rename this to smart object handle. And I'm going to rename this to required tag. I don't know why it did that. Is there something in here called required tag already? I don't think so. Required. It does not like that. Let's try T. Okay. Required tag. Okay. Yours might not be doing that. I don't know why it's doing that. I think it was because I had made one like this before. I'm just going to do it like that. There we go. Yeah, it's some kind of bug. So we're going to do the same thing on this one. Check by default, enabled by default. And again, if you want, you can get, in order to clean this up a little bit. All right. So now all we need to do is return this. So we'll do a return node. And we'll plug this into here, and we'll call this the slot handle. And that's all we need to do on that one. And so this is the secondary slot. So we're going to look for the slot with the secondary because that's the runtime tag that we assigned to the secondary slot. And so we need to get the more object subsystem again. We need to do an enable that slot enabled. And so if this is the secondary slot and the current slot has been occupied, if the primary slot is occupied and this is the secondary slot, then we will enable it. So we're going to do another check right here. But this time, we already know this is the primary slot. So we want to check to see if this primary slot has been released. So if this fires because the primary slot is being released, and the way that this works is it's like on component bound, I think, and then it does unclaimed, unoccupied, and then unreleased. And so that's the reason why I'm doing it in this order, in case you guys were wondering. So on released, if this primary slot has been released, then we will do this all again. Except this time we'll disable the slot. And then we need to do this one more time. But we need to do one more branch check. Except this time we need to make sure that we need to check to see if this is the secondary slot and it has been released. So actually, I think we're missing a check right here. Let's see. Yeah, so we'll cover that here in a second. So let's do an and here because we are missing some logic here on this one. That drives me crazy. I hate those crooked lines here. It just messes with me. Okay, so, and also we need to hook these up as well. So what we'll actually do is we'll just create a variable here and we'll just call it the smart object handle. And really we probably don't have to do this every single time, but I don't know of a better way to handle that. So anyway, all right, so we do need another check right here. So if the primary slot has been released, we'll do one right here as well. No, we need another check right here. Right here, actually. So on released, if the primary slot has been released, we need to get the slot state, and we need to check this slot state. is not equal to occupied. No, let's see. So we might have to check to see if it's unoccupied or claimed. Either that is not equal to unoccupied and not equal to claimed, or we could do is equal to free or is equal to disabled. Really, we could just do an is equal to free. I think that'll work. So if it is equal to free, meaning that it's not currently occupied, then we can disable it. All right. So that was just an extra check we needed to do for this because we don't want the primary slot to disable it if someone's currently sitting in it or using it. But then also we need to check to see if after that slot was released, we need to make sure that it was disabled. So make sure that's set to disabled, not enabled. That should that should be it. And make sure this is disabled. And again, make sure that the is entry is enabled. And now, let's see what you could do is you can press the comma key over here, right next to the enter key, to the left of the enter key on a US keyboard to go into debug mode. And it looks like it's working. So we can actually test this better if we do it like this. So let's come back over here to the NPC and we'll add a state here and we'll call this delay. And we'll move this up here and we need to add a transition on completed next state. And the task is going to be a delay task. And we want to delay it by like 5 seconds, just enough time to be able to get in there and enable our debug mode. So also on the bench, we want to, let's just set this to 1 for now on the loop. And now go into debug mode. You'll see one is enabled, the other one is disabled. So you'll see he starts using it almost immediately after it's been enabled by the other guy, by the other slot. And then we'll just wait. Okay. And you see it's disabled. All right, guys. So I'm not sure what we'll do next, but I'll have to think about it. That's pretty much it. I'll see you in the next video.